The New York Mets have lost Ronny Mauricio. Where do they go from here? And well, welcome back to New York Sports Wicker Media. I'm Watts2K99. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch these videos. Reminder, we go live every Wednesday night. Join us at 10 p.m. for the sports talk and all the fun. But we got to talk a little New York Mets baseball. For the second straight year, they lose a piece for the season before the season even begins. Ronny Mauricio was attempting to steal second base in a Winter League game. He had to stop short. He tried to stop short. He goes down, needs help to get off the field, and the diagnosis has been confirmed. He has a torn ACL in his knee, and he will most likely miss the entire season. And it is a blow to the Major League franchise. You know, the Mets took a long time to call him up last season, but you could really see that he had a good bat, had some good speed as well. Didn't necessarily have a real position on the field. It was hard to know where he was going to play this year, whether it was DH, whether it was infield, whether it was outfield. But the Mets definitely have another bat that they need to replace in this lineup, and it's a lineup that already needed some help. Because the Mets, when it comes to third base, they have a few options, and we're going to talk about some of those options as well. But there's still questions about the outfield. There's still questions at designated hitter, and losing Mauricio just makes it that much worse. So if you look at the internal options, you really have two players. You have brettbaty, and I like brettbaty. He has shown a lot of ability to hit in the minors. In 2022, he batted .312, 406 on base, 544 slugging. He looked great in spring training in 2023, dominated AAA Syracuse, but there's no way around it. He was terrible last year with the Mets. He never was able to put it together. He took his struggles, at bat into the field. The thing with it, I do believe he is a very capable player. He still has a high upside. But here's my concern. He's now 24 years old. He's not 20 or 21. If it doesn't happen for him this year, I don't think it's ever going to happen for him. So I want to give him the best chance that he can to show what he can do, but you have to have a plan in place if it doesn't work out. Now, markvientos is the other internal option. To me, he is a designated hitter, nothing else. He cannot play defense at all. Give him a chance to earn the full-time DH job, that's fine. But, to me, whatever you get from markvientos is a bonus. To me, his floor is very, very low. I look at Vientos as a AAA player, possible DH, nothing else. And the thing with the minor leagues, if you look at internal options, the Mets don't have a lot of those. They got a lot of middle infield options in guys like Acuna and Williams and guys like that, but not so much corner players. So then you've got to look outside the organization. Now, the name everybody is coming back to is Justin Turner. And I know on the surface it seems pretty exciting. He is, obviously being an ex-Met, left the Mets, went on to a career with the Dodgers, became a very, very good player for them for a lot of years. But I do have my reservations. He's 39 years old, okay? That's my first concern. Now, he could still hit 280 last season, 800 OPS, can still hit lefties very well. That definitely intrigues me too. My concern is his defense is terrible. He had an .842 fielding percentage last season at third base. Basically, you're bringing in an older markvientos just with a better bat. Now, he can play first base a little bit if needed, if Pete Alonso needs a spell. He's known as a great clubhouse guy. That is probably the most appealing part of him. 1-year deal. I did not want Justin Turner on this team. I was not interested in him. But after losing Mauricio, you know what? For a year, I can deal with it. Now, I want nothing to do with Matt Chapman. I'm not getting off that train, okay? Great defense, but strikes out way too much, way too streaky. He would cost 4 to 5 years, probably around $20 million a year. And if you bring him in, then you're basically telling brettbaty you have no role on this team, okay? And I believe that big contract, that 15, 20 million a year, should be going to starting pitching, Yamamoto. It might cost more than that, but I'm using that money on Yamamoto, whatever I could do, or if that doesn't work out, a Jordan Montgomery, that type of a pitcher. Now, or even next year, by the way, because there's going to be a lot of good starting pitchers available next season. Corbin Burns, Shane Bieber, Max Fried, a lot of good names. Waiting 1 year may not be the worst thing in the world. But there are some other free agents out there that I took a look at, and there is one I think that I feel best about. Now, Jean Segura is one of them. He's going to be 34 at the start of the season. He had signed 2 years, $17 million with Miami before last season. Then he gets traded midway through the season to Cleveland, was immediate released. He was batting .219, a .556 OPS, not very good. So he had a terrible 2023. But the years before that, he batted .290 and .277. So the drop in his average from .277 to .219 last year is quite stark, and that drop in the average does worry me. Plus, you're not going to get any power. His speed is not what it was either. So, I mean, I'm not too excited about Jean Segura. I looked at Amedrosario, the ex-Met prospect. Seemed very intriguing, still in his late 20s. Good all-around player. He's never really lived up to that top prospect status, but still a useful major league player. Unfortunately, though, he's never played third base. Just middle infield and outfield, so probably not going to work. I even looked at Eduardoescobar, good clubhouse guy, spent a year and a half with the Mets, and outside of one great month, wasn't that outstanding. Didn't do much last year with the Angels. But there is one player that I have some interest in as well if Justin Turner doesn't work out, and it's Giourshela. Was with the Angels last season, 32 years old, batted .299, .329 on base, .374 slugging. Not going to give you a ton of power. In 2021, he hit 14 home runs. He hit 13 in 2022. Only hit 2 home runs last year, but he missed 2/3 of the season with a fractured pelvis. But he plays excellent defense. Still not too old, but, pretty good clubhouse guy as well. I think Urshela might be a good right-handed complement to Brettbaty. Okay, so I'm thinking Giourshela or Justin Turner. One of those two would be a nice addition. Oh, and also, again, that much more of a need, I think, to look at an outfielder. Because I think now JeffMcneil may have to really spend more time in the infield now that you've lost Mauricio, who's probably more suited to play infield than outfield. Now, the Mets have lost out on Jung-Hoo Lee, who I did a video on earlier, about a week ago. He signed a 6-year, $113 million with the San Francisco Giants. So if you're looking at a center fielder, you have Michael Taylor, you have Harrison Bader as defense first options. And even in the corner outfielders, you've got Tommy Pham, Jorge Soler, Randall Grichuk, Adam Duvall. Again, I don't see Cody Bellinger coming here. I think he's going to get 5 or 6 years, 25, 30 million a year. I think he's really going to cash in off a very good 2023, and I just don't see the Mets committing that kind of money to a position player. I think it needs to go to starting pitching. So again, I'm looking at 1 to 2 year contracts with outfielders. Because right now, the Mets' current outfield of DJ Stewart, Brandon Nimmo, and an often injured Starling Marte just isn't going to hold up. So the Mets, in my mind, need to bring in at least 2 position players. At this point, I think they really need an outfielder, and now they got to bring in a third baseman as well. If you can bring in a DH like a JD Martinez, great, but you need some guys who can play some defense. All right, those are my thoughts on the New York Mets and where they are right now following the Mauricio injury. What would you like to see the Mets do, to fill in the spot with the Mauricio injury? Let me see your comments. Put them right down there. Thanks, everybody, for watching. I appreciate everybody watching. We'll see you right back here with more content from you know where. The Wicker Chair.